Aloha, this is Roger Heska, the Eternal Teenager, and recently I made a video showing the nutrient levels in my diet on a certain day, and that I was able to get all the basic nutrients in terms of vitamins and minerals, and even proteins and even individual amino acids on a raw food diet. Everything except vitamin B12 and vitamin D. Vitamin D I get from the sunshine, and vitamin B12, some people do fine without supplementation at all for a number of years. They may be absorbing it another way. For me, I do supplement with vitamin B12, and some other raw foodists have found that they need to do that too. So let me get to it. What we're going to cover today, we got four different days of a raw food diet. We're going to compare more typical raw food diets that certain groups of raw foodists eat, and then later compare it with a couple of new days in mind that are different from before and have different foods that made up the nutrients. So I think you're going to find this interesting. So interesting. I'm speaking a little quickly here. So I'm going to shrink myself down here. And we're going to go do a little quick summary. Oh, wrong one. All right, so we're going to be comparing nutrients in a typical fruitarian and low-fat raw diet compared to 2 days of what I typically eat. Okay, so the first one is going to be a typical no overt fats fruitarian diet day nutrients. So some people do this. There's a whole group of raw foodists who, pretty much shun eating all fats, all overtly fatty foods, and they feel like they're getting enough from their diet somehow, some way. And they call that 95-5 for 90% carbohydrates, 5% protein, 5% fat, approximately, okay, is what you'll get. But you'll see probably more likely the fat's a little lower and the protein is about 5%, and then the carbs are a little higher. Okay. Next day is going to be a typical low-fat raw diet day, nutrients from a typical day. And it'll be a day where they eat the maximum amount of fat to help them, to help get a balanced look at their nutrients. And then the third day we're going to look at is day of my eating with no overtly fatty foods. But that particular day, I did have a nutrient-rich, savory, raw carbs kind of food. It was a kind of raw bean that you can eat raw. Okay. And on the fourth day of my eating, now this is really interesting. I didn't eat any overtly fatty foods, like no nuts, no seeds, no oils, no avocado, no nuts and seeds, no durian, even though durian is not mostly fatty, but durian is rather high in fat. No oils, but I did not eat any savory raw carbs foods. So I reached all my nutrients with low fat raw foods, mostly greens and fruit, and one other special food. Anyways, which I'm not going to get into in this video. But so let's get into these days, and you're going to see why, if you put in a typical day's nutrients, why you start running into problems of having nutrient deficiencies. All right, so let's go over here. All right, so what do we have? Well, we have me over here in the way. This is a day, low fat. This is 95-5 day. No overtly fatty foods. They're just eating fruit, okay, including cucumber, which is a fruit, but it's more nutrient rich, like a green, okay? So I just average it out to about 2,500 calories, all right? Now, when we show my days, they're going to be a little bit more than 2,500 calories, but it doesn't matter. If I made the calories a little lower, yes, I might not have gotten all my targets, but I'm still so far ahead in so many different ways. You'll see. Okay, so this diet was composed largely of orange, and that's actually rather nutrient rich. So I gave them plenty of orange. Bananas are pretty good too. They supply some minerals and stuff that are hard to get. Watermelon is very nutrient rich. Mango is very nutrient rich. Gives you some selenium and vitamin E. I think it's selenium. Just other nutrients that might be hard to get on a fruitarian diet. So of course, depending on the kind of fruit you eat, and there are technically in a fruitarian diet, there are other green-like foods you could eat. You could eat zucchini, which is, it's pretty nutrient rich. You could eat okra. That's also a fruit. Zucchini is a fruit. Okra is a fruit. Cucumber is a fruit. Those are also nutrient rich. But are these fruitarians actually doing that? They wouldn't even eat celery. Okay, because unfortunately, eating the celery kills the whole plant. So that's sort of against the fruitarian philosophy of taking only what the earth, gives you willingly in the form of fruit. So let's take a look. So let's first take a quick look at the macronutrients. All right, so it's 92% carbs, 5% protein, and 3% fat. So like I told you, not quite 95.5, but it's in the ballpark. Now you see the fat is going to be very low for people eating like this. And over the long haul, that may cause problems. And according to Cronometer, now remember, I told you in the previous video, not all of these numbers are correct or what you actually need, okay? Some of the nutrients, like zinc and selenium, they may be higher. What they list here is what we need may be higher than what we need. I don't really know. I definitely know protein is at least double the needs, okay, of what you need. So, because apparently the US authorities deciding on it, well, they came up with their protein number, which was probably high to begin with compared to other cultures who are doing fine on much lower protein diets, like very low. And then they doubled that number for a safety margin. So, if you're getting 50% protein, and there's other things, sodium does not need to be anywhere as high as they're saying nowadays. Okay, so let's take a quick look. So not bad, 261% fiber. Compared to people on a cooked food diet, that's a lot lower. A lot higher fiber. And iron, decent amount of iron. That's pretty good for a fruitarian diet. 84% calcium. Calcium is another one that does not need to be that high. So 84% is probably just fine. Zinc, that could be on the low side. Vitamin C, well, yeah, you're doing well. You're going to do well on a fruitarian diet on vitamin C. Selenium, 46%, that might be a little low. Vitamin E, as I've said in the past, vitamin E is sometimes difficult to get. All right? And by the way, I also said that even niacin is difficult to get. Well, they got 105% niacin. So just barely getting over there. And so you can sort of see the nutrient breakdown. Mangoes, pretty high in vitamin E. Oranges are pretty high. Grapes are not bad. Bananas, watermelon, so on and so forth. Vitamin K. So vitamin E is low. That's I think somewhat of a concern. Vitamin K is low. You'll see here's this 76%. You'll see my numbers in the thousands of percent. According to the US RDA numbers or RDI numbers, I'm getting too much too much vitamin K supposedly. Calcium, okay, 84%, probably not bad. Now, surprisingly, look at these minerals. Minerals are doing all right. These particular minerals. Iron's okay. Iron might, especially like for pregnant women and especially pregnant women and maybe even, I'm not sure if it's for lactating also, probably need double, triple that amount of iron. Selenium. Okay, so selenium, low. You can see what is providing the selenium here. Okay, bananas, oranges, watermelon, mango. So mango is good on vitamin E and selenium. So, that's a good raw fruit to eat if you want to do better on your selenium numbers. And zinc is only 42%. So some of these nutrients are, if you want to be sexually active, if you're only getting 42% zinc, you're slowly going to lose desire for sex, especially for men, possibly for women. That's the problem with these diets. They're so restricted on what foods you can eat. It really lowers the nutrients you can get in. Now, as I said, probably getting about 50% protein is probably enough. So 79%, some are a little lower, whatever, in the amino acid categories, but not so bad. Now, let's look at the omega-3 to omega-6 ratio. This is good. This is a good ratio. Maybe you could use a little bit more of these, but in terms of a ratio, it's good. It's pretty much 2 to 1, omega-6 to omega-3, so it's a really good ratio. All right, so let's go to the second day. This is the low-fat, raw day of eating. Okay, in this one, we've also included an avocado or whatever, just enough avocado so we can round it off, I guess, to whatever. I think that was that's the size of apparently one Hass, they call it Blackskin, one Hass, California avocado. Delicious Hass avocados, and we even included some romaine lettuce and some celery. And quite frankly, on some days, these people who eat low-fat raw, they're not eating any greens. This is a decent amount of greens for them. They're just not a lot of them, not all of them, but the ones who do well, they're the ones who eat more greens. That's what I've noticed. Okay, in general, there's no hard, fast rule. Some people seem to break all the rules, but if you look in general as an overall category. Okay, so again, I just came up. So watermelon, again, nutritious, mango, grapes in their own way, bananas, you even put in some blueberries, etc. All right, and that comes out to about 2,500 calories. So let's look at the macronutrients. Carbohydrates, 85%, fat, 10%, and protein, 5%. So protein is not all that high. Let's compare that with the other day. This is 5% protein, and this is also 5%. It's just that this one was lower in fat and therefore higher in carbs. So we're not getting a ton of protein here. Let's take a look. If you go down here, today's is 73%. I'm guessing they would have a little bit higher in protein because they had more greens. Let's see. So 73% versus, well, now that's surprising. That us, because a lot of orange is actually very high in protein, believe it or not. If you just made a diet of oranges, you're not going to get enough protein, but it gets your numbers up. Okay, so that actually surprised me. Do we have oranges in here? Okay, in this one I did not put oranges. Okay, so that's probably why the protein numbers are low. Okay, so you can see here 79% of targets, and this one is 77%. For me, a good target is around 90, 91, 92%. And the other ones are just not going to be met, at least according to this system. All right. So a little better on vitamin E, but still not quite making it. Selenium still low. Vitamin C high, but not as high, probably, again, because no oranges. So if you shifted oranges in here, you would get different numbers. Some things would be better, so on and so forth. Some things would be worse. Okay, 52% zinc, not enough zinc. Calcium, is starting to get on the low side, borderline. You probably do all right with that calcium. Iron, 161%, so the iron went up compared to this day, which was 115%. This day was 261% fiber. This day is 217. So the fiber somehow went down, probably again because of the oranges. Let's see. Oranges, fiber. Yeah, the oranges were 118%. Okay, so if you want to do well, a fruitarian diet, oranges are probably something you want to stick in there. All right? Fiber, oranges. That's okay. But anyway, this still got plenty of fiber compared to most people who can't even get 100% fiber, which is like nothing. And this time we did a little better on the niacin, 116%. You know, like I said, 44% calcium. It's getting on the low side. Selenium, okay, 41%, not good. It's okay, but it's not great. Zinc, 52%. You probably want to get that a lot higher. In my experience, you got to get a decent amount of zinc for certain things to work right. And of course, 73% protein. You know, you could probably get by in this for a long time. And in terms of building cells and muscles, you're probably fine. But what is the problem? The problem is that you're already starting to see nutrient deficiencies, and this is only a small, tiny spectrum of all the nutrients in all the raw foods or in the foods that you're eating. You know, they might only have 10%. They might only even know 10% or 20% of all the nutrients in the food. And they're definitely not all listed here. This is just a small, maybe the basics, you know. But if you're not eating a lot of greens, there's a whole spectrum of nutrients that you're totally depriving yourself of. And we're talking about a whole bunch of different kinds of greens and herbs. They have all these nutrients. And some of them, you know, because they're antioxidants or phytochemicals and all these special things, they're not going to be listed here. Okay. But when you're eating fruitarian and or low fat raw, and if you're not eating a lot of greens, like I said, some people are smart. Unfortunately, I haven't seen this, but some people who eat a low-fat raw diet do eat a decent amount of greens. Most of them could still eat more, but the ones who eat a decent amount of greens tend to do a lot better. All right, like my savory, like my savory veggie stew customers who eat low-fat raw but are also have no problem eating a lot of greens. Now, what we'll do next, I'm going to pause this. And I'll be right back, and we'll go to my foods. Okay, so now we're on my first day. We're going to compare what I ate on this particular day and then on another day. Okay, now on this day, it was a day where I had some raw beans, which gave me all sorts of nutrients that are not in your typical fruitarian diet and not in your typical low-fat raw food diet. And most people following a low-fat raw food diet would say you shouldn't eat beans. And there's all sorts of foods that they tend to, let me get this going again, all sorts of foods that they tend to eliminate, which then decreases the range of nutrients that they can get. There's all sorts of things that you can eat that are raw and very healthy for you, but for some reason, someone has decided this is not a natural food for humans. Okay? So let's take a quick look. Let's start again with the macronutrients, all right? So 84% carbohydrates. Carbs are a little lower, right? Protein, 9% protein. Interesting. And 7% fats. Remember, one was, and this is a day I didn't eat any overtly fatty foods. So if I'd eaten fatty foods, I might be up to 15% fat. It depends on how much of the fat. You know, if you eat 15, 20%, 25% of fat in one day, it's not the end of the world. It's more what you do over the course of a month, 2 months. You know, if every single day you're eating 30% of your calories from fat, well, that could be a problem in the long haul. All right, so let's compare that. Ready? So 84% carbs, 9% protein, and 7% fats. Compare it with this day. This one was 10% fats, largely from the avocado. Let's take a look, by the way. So your avocado is providing 95% of the fat. Now, unfortunately, avocado is not the greatest balance of omega-6 to omega-3s. You'll see, for instance, I think you'll see here, avocado's got 0.2 grams of omega-3s, and it has 2.3 grams of omega-6. So it's like 10 times higher. It's like a 10-to-1 ratio. So it's okay as long as you've got these other foods to balance it out. All right. So now let's go here. So this one is 85% carbs, 5% protein. So what was the protein here? 9%. I'm getting a lot more protein. So let's look at that. 9% protein. Let's visualize this. So that day was 73% protein. Okay, so so this is 153% protein here, and all the amino acids have been met. Okay, so getting quite a bit of protein here. Okay, now let's go back here. So you see, cysteine is only at 36%. This amino acid, cysteine, is 36%. Over here, it's 114%. So you see, and this is all from a raw food diet on a non-fatty food day. All right. So what else we got to look at here? We have a omega-3 to omega-6 ratio. Not bad. Okay. Also, let's take a look here. Oh, by the way, so 92% of the targets met. 389% fiber, okay, which is almost 117 grams of fiber. 429% iron. If you have iron problems, the way I'm eating is going to solve it. 153% calcium, 135% zinc, which is hard to get normally. Almost 1,400% vitamin C, 110% selenium, another one that's normally, with most of the raw foods eaten, especially if there's no nuts or seeds, it's very hard to get that. But I have a little trick for that, which Super Being Club members already have access to. And that difficult to get vitamin E, now at 112%. Now, the B12 and the vitamin D, of course, are going to be low. So that's just normal stuff. Like I said, you get the vitamin D from sunshine, and if you can't get enough vitamin D, you can supplement it in a number of ways, including a Spurdy lamp, which will help you produce it on your skin. And if you want more B12, another way to get it would be to eat dirt. All right, if you're not, for some reason, able to absorb enough from your own system. Now, sodium here on this day was, not super high, but it's plenty high, and like 610 milligrams. Let's compare that, for instance, to here. Let's compare the sodium. Okay, this day they only got 100. They got 15%, and what did I get? 47%. Now, again, even 47% is plenty. If you're doing 30% to 50% to 60% on a regular basis, you're doing quite well. Okay, you don't need 100% sodium. That's just proven to be false, absolutely ridiculous. Now, so the sodium, zinc 52, selenium 41, calcium 44. Okay. So remember what's going on here. These are symptoms. Calcium, 153%, copper, 475, iron, 429%, Magnesium, 216. Manganese, 562. Okay? All of these nutrients are above even the sometimes stacked against you US the RDI, recommended daily intake, or whatever they call it these days. Vitamin K, 3,219%. Vitamin E, 112. Vitamin C is good. Vitamin A, folate's good. Maybe they consider that too high. Well, that's just a natural consequence of eating a lot of greens and a lot of nutrient-rich foods. And not just any greens, but certain powerful, very powerful greens. So your B vitamins, 237, 257, 250%. B3 niacin, 166%. Pantothenic acid, 255%. B6, 412%. So you're getting a lot of nutrients, all right, compared to these other ones. Now, let's compare the sodium. I tell you, one of the big reasons people fail on the raw food diet is a very unbalanced sodium to potassium ratio. Okay, you have to find a way to get sodium into your diet. Eating a lot of celery and spinach are the two best sources that I know of sodium in terms of greens. They're the best, and they can easily get your sodium up without you having to eat salt, which is not sodium, it's sodium chloride. And sodium chloride, unfortunately, is very damaging. I got to get this back on. Sodium chloride is very damaging, but salt, sodium from food sources, organic food sources, is very healthy. It's just the opposite. So don't get that confused. All right, so let's look. So sodium, we're going to go back to the first day. All right, so I got 600, almost 611 milligrams. Let's look on the first day how much sodium there is. Okay, look at the sodium is only 3%, 37.1 milligrams. Okay, so Fruitarian diet is extremely low in nutrients. You're still able to get, some of these fruit nutrients, no problem. But some of them are hard to get. The vitamin E, the vitamin K, if you're not eating greens, calcium. The calcium is probably okay, actually. And that's due to eating the oranges. If it wasn't orange season, you might have trouble getting calcium, and your protein numbers are going to be way lower, generally speaking. Selenium and zinc, again, low. All right? So, and keep in mind, these are just the visible nutrients. There's so many nutrients in greens that are completely zero. You'll get zero of those nutrients in fruit. Just like if you just ate greens, you get zero of a lot of the nutrients in fruit. You need them both. You can't just say, I'm just going to eat fruit, okay? Because your health is going to start to fall apart. I've been 100% raw for over 17 and a half years. I've seen a lot of raw foodists, a lot of low-fat raw foodists, some fruitarians, and they're just not, generally speaking, not always, just not thriving for the long term. They might feel, and you could feel good for a week, a month, 6 months, a year even, and with your nutrients low, but gradually over time, it's going to start affecting you. All right, and that's the unfortunate problem. Heck, it'd be great if all you needed to do was eat fruit and that's all the nutrients you needed, because hey, they're wonderful to eat. And but me personally, I need to have something savory or something with sodium in it. Okay, and otherwise I get unbalanced very quickly, and so that just naturally led me to eating more savory things, like in savory veggie stews and savory raw carbs programs that I put out, recipe programs. All right, so now let's go quickly over to my last day for comparison. Now this day, I didn't eat any fatty foods at all, and I still met all the basic nutrients, except maybe the fat's a little low. But other than that, I met all the other things, and I didn't eat any savory raw carbs foods, no beans, no nut seeds, none of that stuff, no oils, which I don't eat anyway. I don't eat oils. I eat fats in fatty foods, but not extracted oils, because that's a whole other problem. So let's look at the nutrients, macronutrients. So I got 88% carbohydrates. I still got 8% protein. Remember, these other people were getting like these other diets were getting 5% protein, and I got 4% fat. So even my fat is higher than the people who are eating the Fruitarian diet of no overtly fatty foods. So they had 3%, I have 4%. Okay, so I guess what may make you afraid is I actually got 203% calcium. And let's see, 115% zinc, almost 2,000% vitamin C, 116% selenium, 180% vitamin E. So I'm getting a ton of nutrients, and still I'm not even eating any nuts or seeds or savory raw carbs kind of foods at all. Okay, so the fats at very good omega-3 to omega-6 ratio. Protein, I got 140% protein with no nuts and seeds, no beans, 140% protein. It's from certain greens that are very high in protein. Spinach is one of them. There's other greens in there too that I ate that helped me do it. So even the cysteine, I still managed to get 100% of that particular amino acid. And remember, you're probably doing all right if you're just getting 50%. Okay, but it doesn't hurt to get a little more. And you can see here my sodium in this day is what? 82%. Compare that with the Fruitarian at 3%, and with low fat raw at 15%. So I had 82% sodium. All right, and that's not too much, but you don't need that much. You can do pretty well on 500 milligrams of sodium per day eating raw. All right, so you can do pretty well on half of that. But hey, it doesn't hurt to go a little bit higher every now and then. And again, all of these nutrients are high. Iron, 464%. What else do we have? Something of interest. Fiber, 408% fiber. Okay, greens are loaded with fiber. All right. And let's take a look here. All the B vitamins, no problem, except for so-called B12, which is not really a B vitamin anyway. Folate, 619. Vitamin A, almost 2,700. And vitamin E, we saw that before. And vitamin K, this time over 3,000%. All right. So if you eat raw in a sensible way, you can get... I'm going to finish up the video here. So if you eat raw in a sensible way, you can exceed your nutrient needs. Don't let anyone tell you, you can't eat a raw food diet. You're not going to get all your nutrients. Yes, you can. And you can eat a vegan raw food diet and get all the vegan so-called or plant-based raw food diet and get all the nutrients you need without issue. But you do need to focus on it. You do need to specialize on certain foods that are very high in nutrients. Now, in my Super Being Club, I reveal a special food that is low fat, that is super high in selenium. Okay, so you can eat I think 50 calories of this and probably get 60-70% of your selenium. I don't know. Don't quote me on that. But it's really high. And selenium is the hardest nutrient to get if you're not eating nuts and seeds, at least out of the Cronometer numbers. Remember, there's all sorts of nutrients that you're not seeing and that you're definitely not getting. If you're not eating a lot of greens, you're not getting all of the incredible plant healing, anti-cancer, anti-aging, all those nutrients in the cruciferous vegetables, in a lot of the herbs, in a lot of dark leafy greens. You're just not getting it, okay? You need a whole balance of different raw food groups to succeed on a raw food diet. Okay, so this is Roger Heska, the eternal teenager, currently almost 52 years old. My birthday will be coming in like a month and a half. So what am I? The 51-year-old teenager. Wishing you success and long-term thriving success on the raw food diet. So I've been doing it for 17 and a half years. And the more I work on filling in the nutrient gaps, actually, the better I feel. Okay. And so you can eat raw. You eat like this. Cooked food cravings are not going to bother you. They're going to be a thing of the past. And you're going to be healthy, and you're going to feel grounded, and you're going to really enjoy what you're eating. All right. So long. Talk to you next time. If you like the video, well, you're welcome to hit the like button and to subscribe to the channel. And I hope to have many more exciting things coming your way. And also, I would suggest, if you really want to keep up to date with me, currently YouTube is not my number one priority. I use it more for my email list, so they get to see me also. But unfortunately, in social media, I'm getting shadow banned on many sites, including YouTube. They're totally screwing me over, including Facebook. So any way you can support me, a great way to support me is to get on my email list. And if you're interested, check out the Super Being Club. There's a lot of really just amazing information in there that I think can help you totally transform your life. All right. Take care. Bye-bye.